Goofy Historians is the funnest place to learn about history. Or is it the funniest?
Welcome, everybody. This is a humorous history podcast, and we are the Goofy Historians. No drum roll this time. We're saving time and energy, trying to help save the planet. Every little bit helps. Today, we are going to record the final episode of our epic Mongols series. So far, and with all of our videos, we've covered a lot of ground, from Genghis growing up in the steppe to Kublai Khan in China, who we'll come back to in this video, and into what we now call the Middle East. So the parts that are remaining in this 11th and 12th century journey are finishing up the Mongols in Persia, the Mongols in Europe, Russia in the winter I want to talk about because that's great, and some other stuff like pin pals with the Pope, which you'll learn about here before too long. And we are delighted to have Ali from Gates of Babylon back to help us wind this all up, if that is even possible. It's so difficult to find a stopping place and a starting place in history because it's all tied together. There's never a great point. But so Ali, long time no talk to. Thank you for joining us today. In America, we're recording this on Thanksgiving, which is a day where Americans give thanks. I'm thankful every day, or I try to be, but today I think about it a little bit more. So it's happy Thanksgiving to everybody in America today, although this will be published not on Thanksgiving. Well, I remember when I was a kid, I thought that they were thankful for the pilgrims. I thought they were thankful for not getting massacred by the Native Americans. I thought that's what they could, because that would have made a lot of sense. Okay, Ali, how are you doing? How's New Zealand today?
New Zealand is doing fine, and unlike the last 2 weeks, it's not raining today.
Oh,
Yeah, it's been raining too hard this time.
And no raining, and no kangaroos, but plenty of Lord. Joseph, are we
kangaroos?
Joseph,
I never heard of Lord until you brought her up the last time.
Well, don't admit that.
I don't have any idea. I'm gonna have to look her up and see if I like her songs. I'm not very musical, so I have no clue.
No clue. I heard about her just like 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Because...
All right.
Let's get on with the show.
Okay,
we're gonna run out of time.
Started. We're gonna finish this up. This is the final of this epic series of the Mongols. And I guess before we jump back into Persia, Joseph, you wanted to talk about Kublai Khan's death and how that happened, because there's some great names here. Ogadai is a great name, but then the other guy, Monkey, come on. So
Monkey, yeah, you gotta love Monkey. I would name my dog Monkey if I had known. Let's finish it up. What I just think is kind of funny and sort of ironic, right? The Mongols are known for their horse riding skills, right? Though they're probably more of a donkey than a horse, right? I mean, they were smaller horses, but that's what they were famous for, right? And that's why they were so successful, because they could bring in hundreds of thousands of these horsemen against knights in armor. It just wasn't fair for the knights. But Genghis Khan actually, he didn't die in battle. He didn't die in bed. He didn't even die as a drunk. He died falling off his horse, right? Which I just think is so ironic. And not only did he die not in battle, falling off a horse, he fell off a horse while hunting a donkey, right? So yes, I just think that was a rather ignominious way for the great Khan to die. He should have died in battle. And then after he died, they totally lost his body. Nobody knows. It probably got trampled on by the donkeys, and nobody ever found it again. So that's the big mystery.
Yeah, that's such a contrast between that ending of Genghis Khan and say like the ending of Viking King, where they had so much honor. They buried the Viking King in the boat with all the valuables on a giant mound. With Genghis, they're like, yeah, I guess that's him over there, all trampled. Poor guy.
Trample. I guess that's it. I don't think he actually ever died. I think he's going to come back and run for president with Trump, according to the latest QAnon theory. That's what I think.
That would be cool.
David just got raptured.
So keep going. You don't need me. You guys stop talking.
Oh yeah, you're the main host. Okay, so but he did set a he did before he died. His wife had made him sit down and say, "Well, what are you going to do after you fall off the donkey?" And she said, "You know, you're going to have to divide up your empire." So she makes him divide it up into 4 different parts, with Ogadai as the main Khan. But basically there's 4, like Kublai Kai goes south, Hulagu goes into Persia, what we're going to talk about, and Jochi, his youngest son, is the one who goes up into Russia. So we can talk about Hulagu, who's going into to Baghdad and to Persia, into that area, to basically bring it into the Abbasid Empire. So maybe Ali can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, first the story of the where Genghis Khan what do you call it, graveyard is. It's like super mysterious. There's a whole lot of different stories about it. Like if somebody's interested in it, like you can have, if you search on YouTube, there's like 100 videos on it. It's so that's one thing. Second thing,
yeah, that's true. I was being a little facetious, but I still believe they just lost him, and all those stories are just things people made up later. But yeah, that's a whole mystery of, you know, what happened to his body. Nobody knows. I think it got resurrected, and he's just waiting to come back.
Hopefully he changes his attitude. It doesn't kill us.
I doubt it. I think we're donezo, man. I think he's like the Antichrist. He's like waiting for Armageddon. I think he's Gog and Trump is Magog. I'm sorry. Let's go on.
Yeah, now with Nickel, the nightmare of nightmares.
The nightmare of nightmares. Yeah. But, so the thing that, actually, if you go into Mongolia now, he's still a national hero, right? If you go into right outside their capital city, there was a huge, like multi-story, just his head. His head is like looking on a hillside over the city. In other parts, they have him and his 2 sons, or him and Subadai, and their prime minister or one of their leaders actually said, like, Kublai Khan is the man of the millennium. Right? He's the one who brought peace and tranquility, so you can walk from Guangzhou to Baghdad without being raped. And then he said, well, but his methods were a little rough, but what can I tell you? It was the 13th century. And I can say what you can say. If you don't know, I can give you some help. You say sorry, right? It's like, sorry for all the people we raped and destroyed and all the civilizations we destroyed. Great for Mongolia, right? But you could have stopped there. No one was forcing you to go out and conquer all these worlds, right? The one thing about his thing with these bones, right? Like, you had people, Christians, putting people's heads on spikes and putting them in pillars. But Genghis Khan has this thing about getting big piles of bones, right? In one of the cities, when he destroyed everybody, this is what really pissed me off, and I can never forgive him for this, right? One, he because this took effort, right? It just wasn't slaughter. It was systematic. He had one big pile of bones for the men, right? And then another pile of bones for the women, right? And you go, okay, well, that sucks, man. You're killing women, right? That's not good. But then he has another little pile of bones for the children and babies, right? It's like he's killing babies, right? And then he doesn't stop there. He has another pile for all the cats and the dogs and the pets, right?
Not the
He's
dogs.
killing,
You know what?
he's killing dogs.
I'm drawing the line at the dogs. Okay, yeah.
Puppies and babies. I mean, that's horrendous, right? I mean, what type? You know, and then after he leaves, he'll come back, right, a day later to see if anybody has come out of the woodwork to sort of bury their dead, and then he kills them. So not a nice man. You know, great for Mongolia, bad for everybody else.
I think we covered some of that in the other videos. What I wanted to focus on is because look, you know what? I can explain why he did that. It's the same reason that
you can explain why he killed kitties.
Can you let me talk for a second? I'm not saying I fucking condone it. I'm just saying I can explain why. It's the same reason that Vlad the Impaler.
That's what I was trying to think of. Right?
Yeah. So the reason that they do that is because when you are preparing a field, you've got to get rid of all the weeds and all the debris and start with a clean field, or else your enemies will sprout back up again. That's a horrible thing, but that's why they did it. Let's focus on finishing up with Baghdad, the sack of Baghdad. Can we get to the sack of Baghdad, for God's sake? Because I love the part where they catapulted the palm trees when they ran out of rock.
Palm trees over the city.
I feel to do Europe first because it is logically take it through the dates, and the conquest through Russia happened first. It's not a long story there. Yeah, so basically, to make it as short as possible. Anyway, it's not that long. The Mongols decide to go to Europe because they heard about it from the Muslim world, and basically it's the same story what happened with the Huns or what's supposed to be maybe the Shanglu, like back in the days during the Roman Empire. So the same story that went through Russia, but the thing this time Russia it's a bit developed, but it's still at the time was towns of stones and wood, but mostly wood. Like in the beginning of the medieval period, not fully developed yet in comparison to Western Europe, and they're too divided, especially at the north, whereas Estonia and the Baltic states, so to speak, especially that areas super divided by fighting each other too much, and the Mongols just came with their many horses, moving too quick, but like even passing castles and coming back to destroy it later, and just running all over the place. And if you want to run after them, it basically becomes Tom and Jerry. And then when you get tired, they surround you and massacre you. Just to summarize it very quickly. And they kept running around until they basically defeated all the military there very quickly. Like it happened like in less than a year, and then boom, now we're in Hungary. Because they the Mongols don't know when to stop. They kept going.
Yeah, they don't know when to stop until they call another Kurultai. The one in Hungary I thought was funny because, the Christians and the Muslims have been, hating on each other for thousands of years. And the Pope had called like his umpteenth, crusade to get back Jerusalem, right? And the Hungarians go, we're in, we're getting our army together. We're going to get this army, these knights. We're going to go down and take Jerusalem. And they turn around, right? And the Mongols are there, right? So in a way, like they're more prepared than they would have been, right? Because they have all these knights, right? So they just got to turn them around and go fight the Mongols. And like, Ali was saying, the Mongols do this feigned retreat, and all the stupid knights go chasing after them. And then as soon as they get strangled, the Mongols are actually leaving like sheep, right, and pizzas and Thanksgiving dinners. So they're like stopping and eating, killing the sheep. And then when they're all strung out,
it's like a
the
Tom and
Mongols
Jerry
turn around
cartoon.
and destroy them. It's like the Jerry cartoon. I mean, it's pretty pathetic. And then so the Hungarian armies and the Polish armies, and they were pretty much annihilated. But the king, right, died, right? So the queen had to take over the Hungarian country, and she had to write a letter to the Pope. Yeah, it says, that army you were expecting from us to go to the Holy Land, it's not going to happen. Right? Matter of fact, could you send us some armies to help fight the Mongols? And the Pope goes, no, we got to go try to go get back Jerusalem for some reason. So that was really the end of Hungary, and then the Lithuanians came down for some reason. There was a Lithuanian empire that came down and took the Polish and the Hungary. So who were Christians, right? So I thought that was was ridiculous.
The Lithuanian Empire actually decided to surrender at the beginning. It was a small kingdom. So then they decided the best way to defeat the Mongols is by surrendering and not doing anything. And then later on, because they kept their strength, they went down to a little bit south of them and made the Lithuanian Empire we all know. That's basically what happened.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's so funny.
But what happened? Oh, so there's this one side story that I think is important because it ties a lot of it together. The Venetians and the people from Genoa, the Genoese, like the who's the guy who went from Venice? Marco Polo, right? Right. So they will trade with anybody, right? So they're trading in the Black Sea, right? Even before Marco Polo. So that takes you Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. So they were pretty far along, right? But the Venetians, unfortunately, were so greedy, right? They actually stole Muslim children. I mean, not Muslim children, Mongol children, right? And sold them on the international slave trade, right? And so the Mongols go, well, you can't friggin' do that. And so they went and they besieged the city of Kaffa, right? And the city on the Black Sea called Kaffa was under siege for almost a year and a half until the Muslims decide, in order to get this city, we're gonna put palm trees, we're gonna see dead bodies over the wall that have the plague on them. So
Yikes.
it was like the first
the first biological warfare. You know what?
First biological germ warfare. So when these dead bodies with the plague started landing in the inner waters of Kaffa, all the people from Venice and Genoa ran away, got in their boats, and where did they go? Straight back to Venice and Genoa. And that's how the Great Plague got into Europe. So to start,
I was just going to chime in for just a second, if I could, because I wanted to bring up something. Whether it was the empires of Russia or Europe or the Pope, what would happen is you'd get a little letter from Genghis, whether or the Mongols in general. You get a little letter, and they'd be like, "Hey, you're our subjects." Sometimes they didn't even know, who the Mongols were, and they're like, "What?" And that's what happened with that kingdom in Russia, which is so funny. And it was in the middle of winter, and the Mongols used the frozen rivers to just ride across.
As roads.
Yeah, as roads. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah. So, completely unexpected. Yeah. So this wasn't Napoleon, and it wasn't, Hitler's armies. They're coming from the wrong direction. They know how to fight in winter. Okay.
Well, Ali,
Also,
we've got just a couple minutes left, so why don't you go ahead and sum it up from your point of view?
In terms of what do you call it, the Mongol invasion of Europe, it's mainly due to a lot of technologies from China and that Muslim world. They use early gunpowder there. They used ton of chemicals. They used also sulfide that burns with water and ice. They used that also in Hungary, and like the knights were totally surprised by it, because they know about some, but they don't know about others, and they used like everything they could be used on the knights. And they also used many units used poison arrows and such. So it was horrendous for the knights. I didn't know what to do, especially knights of that period weren't as well armed, and the technology not yet as good as full plate armor. They still were using at the time gabinson and chainmails.
When they sacked Baghdad, right after the river stopped flowing with blood, it became black with all of the books they threw into the river. With the fall of Baghdad, it ended the Islamic golden age that invented algebra, trigonometry, probability, language theory. All of that came to an end with the Mongols. One last thing, when the Mongols went finally they were defeated by the Egyptian army. And when they were defeated by the Egyptian army, they were actually led by a Christian. So all those Christians that were waiting for Prester John, it actually happened in the last battle that they fought in the Middle East.
Hi everyone, Haley here filling in for David. Thank you so much for watching. Coming this December, we'll have a video on Frederick II and him getting excommunicated on his way to the Crusades. And next year, be on the lookout for a video on Roman Emperor Constantine and Alexander the Great. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Goofy Historians. You can also follow along by using the show notes on our website. Bye!
Goofy Historians is the funnest place to learn about history. Or is it the funniest? Can I interview you? Or you? Or you? Or you? Or maybe you guys? How about you?